Hey gang, welcome back to another video at, well wait a minute, GreaseRookie Garage.
Hey guys.
I'm up here in Pennsylvania and I'm having a look at Andrew's 65 Mustang. If you remember, he did a viewer's project video for me, and I think it was the first one we actually did in the series. So we're going to kind of do an overview and talk about his car and see what's been going on with it and how things are coming along. Alright, so like I said, we're going to look at Andrew's car, and he had done the first video on the viewer's project, and I'm here and I'm going to talk about his car, and we're going to ask him some questions so he can tell us what he's done to the car and any problems and stuff that he's running into. So if you noticed, you know, the fender's off, and in the back of the car, if you haven't seen it in any of his videos, it's all cut off in the back left quarter, and so he's been working on it. So give us some idea of some of the stuff you found, let's say working on, let's say the front end. What have you found wrong, or what do you need to work on?
Okay, so the front end when I got the car wasn't too bad. Minor stuff like the lower control arm on the driver's side was busted off and the car didn't sit quite right. But for the front end, I got fairly lucky. Most of the stuff on the front end is probably going to get reused. The cow's even in good shape. My fenders I have the common issues underneath where the fenders rot out, and there's some rot in here. But for the most part, the car is actually a very solid car. It was manufactured in New Jersey, and it was sold in Pittsburgh originally, and it spent most of its life in either PA or New Jersey. So I think it was garage kept.
It would have to be, because
Yeah.
you know, I grew up in Pennsylvania myself. I've seen plenty of vehicles from Pennsylvania, even ones that come down later on in life to Georgia, and they're just in bad shape.
Yeah.
So I'm amazed at the condition of this car for being a Pennsylvania car.
Yeah, for being where it is in the Rust Belt, the floor pans, everything, I got very lucky with this car. Now, where I'm not so lucky, or the issues are starting to arise, are on the back end of the car. And when I bought the car, I knew there was some damage. There was about an inch of Bondo on this side. This doesn't look too bad. But I made the joke that the car was a 65.5 because it had been, the driver's side had a quarter panel on it and a driver door from a 66 Mustang.
Right.
So I like to joke around and say that it was my 65.5. But this is where, when I pulled off the quarter panel, a lot of the damage was revealed in that it was obviously T-boned, which caused, you know, on a unibody like this, damage that...
A bunch of damage.
Yeah, it basically extends out into other places.
Now, you pointed out the door is from the 66 as well?
Yes.
Okay.
The door's from the 66. You can tell because obviously the paint is not quite matching up. And then it goes back to normal here. I think this is silver blue, I think.
Yeah, the silver blue, or
yep.
Blue poly or something they call it, which I think is the same color that the Brooklyn Pony is going to be.
Which I picked up on that when you were talking about that in one of your more recent videos. And then the B-pillar is off of that same car,
Yeah, you
the
can
66.
see the spot welds, and down in the bottom here where it's been welded on. So that needs some attention, as most cars do, but you know, that's what it is when you start rebuilding one of these.
So to give you an idea, this is my first major restoration project. I don't have a lot of experience, which is kind of the whole idea of my channel that I have.
Right.
Pretty much I've attended Joe Daddy Garage University on YouTube. It's pretty much where I'm getting all of my stuff. And I'll look at some other stuff, but basically, when I come up with a problem, I just research it and formulate a plan. And with the channel, it's been awesome having people give input, which is probably my favorite thing about the channel, is that I have a lot more people with a lot more knowledge giving me advice from week to week, telling me how I should proceed and giving their input. But the current dilemma at hand is this frame rail is sitting about 3/4 of an inch high. And fortunately it worked out. Barry was in the area and he was able to swing in and make a pit stop, and he was able to look at it, get his hands on the car, and give me a diagnosis as to what he thinks happened. If you want, I can...
Yeah, we'll take a look at it over here. So, as we addressed it earlier, the car had been hit on this side. So the wheelhouse was crushed, a lot of the inner structure was damaged, and of course this quarter panel, what he found was an overlap. The original quarter was still there for the most part, I believe, and then the secondary panel was put on top of that.
Yes.
So, you know, they didn't do a lot of extensive repairs to this car. They kind of just covered it up, which is typically what happens, it seems. So if you look at some of this structure where the wheelhouse attaches, you can see that it's out of shape, which, you know, you can straighten out a good bit of that. We found that the bracing for the seat is out of shape, and I think that has led to part of the problem with the frame rail. And the reason for that is he's saying the frame rail, and I agree with him, the frame rail is sitting a bit high. Well, if you look at it, with this piece being out of shape, it is actually, in my opinion, pulling the frame rail up. And I believe if he takes that piece out, I know the sun is kind of fighting us here, but if he takes that piece out, the frame rail is going to move a bit easier, and if he straightens that out, he can also push the frame rail into position and re-weld it, or re-weld in that brace, and hopefully give it enough force that it'll keep the frame or the rail where it needs to be. So I think that's going to be the answer.
And this, I got to this project, or this part of the project, all by just saying, you know what, I'm going to take a break from working on the door, and I'm going to drop out the rear end and repaint it.
Yeah, I remember
and the next
that.
thing I know, I'm here, I'm doing work and doing repairs on the rear trunk brace, and then I just decided I might as well buy.
So as I was saying, the camera cut out for some reason, but I remember that you were welding in patches on these drop-off panels, and as you got further along, you realized, hey, maybe I should just get these complete panels and work with those.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good decision. You know, it eliminates a lot of extra work, hopefully, and then you've got panels that are complete. There's no welds holding pieces together.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and the overall goal for the car was basically, I had, you know, a 69 Buick Skylark that I tinkered around with as a kid. And I loved doing the work. I grew up, you know, helping my dad in the garage and stuff. And basically got older, went to college, got rid of the car, settled down, had a wife and kids, and I just didn't have time for that kind of stuff. And then my girls got a little bit older, and I was like, you know what? I kind of want to get back into it. And then lo and behold, I was on YouTube pedaling around, and I come across this guy that's dissecting Mustangs, and I think I just decided, you know what? I'm gonna get a car. I'm gonna get back into it. And I actually sent you an email because I saw this car pop up, and I was surprised at how quickly you responded. And it was actually a question about, you know, how accurate do your, whenever you're putting these panels back on, how accurate do you have to be with these unibodies? And, you know, in talking back and forth, it gave me the confidence to take on a project like this. But the nice thing about it is it's a base model, straight six car. It's nothing fancy, so there's no pressure for me to make this a show model car. The idea is make repairs and get the thing to a drivable condition where it looks nice and it's fun to drive, but it's not a show quality car.
Yeah, and I agree with you that 100%, because it's easy to get caught up and just keep going and going and going. But, you know, if you just want a decent car to drive, this is a good candidate. And I told you before, I'm still amazed at the condition of the floor pans. The rear ones are nice and solid. I know you have some issues on that left front, but you have a pan to fix that. Yep. But otherwise, the passenger side and everything is good and solid. And let's open up the hood for a second.
Sure. Probably you can get it started. And the nice thing about the straight six is it's an easy engine to work on. And they're tough. And I mean, I don't really have a need to ever want to make this a V8. I mean, maybe I'll change my mind about it someday, but it's just, I liked how reliable it's been.
I'm telling you, the cowl, all that stuff that should be rotted away is in such great shape. You know, Nobody cut holes in the shock towers for the grease fittings, which is awesome. You know, you have some pitting and stuff, which is not to be unexpected, but otherwise everything up here looks pretty good. And I know you've had this running before. You've done videos where you do startups and stuff like that, which I think is great. You know, we all need a little bit of inspiration once in a while. You know, just start up. You know, just want to hear it run. And you can see it's. And I'm going to assume maybe that this is the original paint. I don't know for sure. You know, they didn't cover everything up, but you can see the grease pencil marks where they had you know, written on it from the factory, which is kind of cool to see. I don't see any on the firewall, but that doesn't mean much. Easily could have been covered over, or, you know, something. But, you know, they didn't. I don't think they did a great job masking these off either whenever it came to paint them. So that very well may be how it should be. You can see there's paint on the end of all the bumper brackets. I could be wrong, but I'm just assuming that's the way it should look. But not that it matters. I know you got a little issue in this fender.
Yeah, which I don't know what I'm going to do there yet. I have some ideas. Got to take it apart, but I'm just not there yet. But again, I want to play around with doing repairs when I can. That you might find just your average shade tree mechanic doing work, you know, in the backyard.
78.
Yep.
Okay.
But the thing about these Mustangs that gets you is the aftermarket panels and stuff are just so cheap because there's so many people making them that it's hard to justify doing some of the work that you originally set out to do.
Right.
Which is what happened back there in the back.
Right. The only drawback is, as we know, they're cheap because they don't fit.
Yeah. But you just spend enough time on YouTube watching Joe Daddy's Garage, you'd probably be all right.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, that's a pretty good update. I'm going to end this video. Hopefully we can get some combined effort work done on this car to straighten out a few things while I'm here. I know the wind is blowing around, so it might affect the audio, but I'm glad to be here and looking at his car and helping him out. And maybe we'll get an update later, but you can always watch on GreaseRookie Garage Andrew and his efforts to put this car back together.